Exposed, she discovered her billionaire husband with another woman's baby after 10 years of lies. Sarah had always prided herself on living the American dream. In the quaint town of Maplewood, Ohio, she was a dedicated teacher, a loving mother, and a devoted wife to Tom, a charming billionaire whose smile could light up even the darkest of rooms. Their lives were full of laughter, Saturday barbecues filled with neighbors, community gatherings where everyone knew each other's names, and moments that made her believe she had it all. But one simple act of cleaning out an old drawer would shatter this illusion, leaving her questioning everything. As she rummaged through stacks of dusty papers, her hands trembled when she unearthed a crumpled letter, its edges worn and faded. With a racing heart, she unfolded it to reveal words that pierced through the fabric of her once perfect life. Tom had an affair, and there was a child involved. A child right there in their neighborhood, hidden in plain sight. The trust that she had so easily given him evaporated, replaced by horrid disbelief. Each line taunted her, echoing the betrayal that had taken root beneath the surface of their seemingly ideal marriage. The weight of the revelation clutched at her chest. Words like love and partnership twisted into knives, leaving her gasping for breath. Her image of Sunday afternoons spent in blissful harmony warped into nights drenched in emptiness. As tears streamed down her cheeks, the laughter that had once filled her home felt dreadful now. Were all those joyful moments just an illusion sewn together by Tom's deceit? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Sarah was thrust into emotional turmoil. She gathered her closest friends, finding solace in their shared experiences. Over coffee and muffled whispers, they bonded through their personal struggles. Hurtful secrets bubbled to the surface, reminding her that no one was immune to heartache. Amidst the tears and warm hugs, she felt a flicker of hope. She wasn't alone in this fight for justice. Determined to confront Tom, Sarah stood in front of him, anger rising like a tempest. He attempted to weave a web of lies, gaslighting her memories of love, but Sarah's heart swelled with a newfound strength. She realized that she had always been more than just a part of his story. She was the author of her own. This burning passion ignited her resolve to shatter the facade he had created and carve out a new path for herself and her children. Yet just as she began to reclaim her identity, the shadow of Tom's betrayal lingered. Could she really escape the grip of her affluent past? The question loomed heavy, a chain binding her to the very life she sought to escape. As the sun dipped below the horizon, leaving a soft glow cascading through her kitchen window, Sarah stood at a crossroads. Would she rise above the turmoil, or would she remain tethered to the ghosts of her former life? The challenge ahead was daunting, yet thrilling. Only time would tell how she would navigate the dark waters of her existence, transforming her pain into purpose. The next morning felt different. It was as if the sun had risen with renewed purpose, casting beams of light that danced through the kitchen window. Sarah stood there, cradling a steaming mug of coffee in her hands, the warmth grounding her as she contemplated the choices ahead. The letter was still a vivid memory, a painful reminder of Tom's deception, yet she could feel the stirrings of a new resolve within her. Today was the day she would take firm action. As she watched the steam rise and curl into the air, she realized she needed to channel her anger into something constructive. She swiftly put down her mug and grabbed her phone. After a few taps, she found herself scrolling through options on a local support group for women facing similar betrayals. Before she could second-guess herself, she clicked join. The decision felt liberating, a small but significant step toward reclaiming her power. As the day progressed, Sarah met with her close friend Hannah, who had been a rock during the recent storms in her life. They met at their usual cafe, a cozy spot with mismatched chairs and that smell of freshly baked pastries wafting through the air. Hannah was already seated at a corner table, her face lighting up as Sarah approached. But the warmth of her smile quickly faded as she noticed the heaviness in Sarah's eyes. "Hey," Hannah said softly, motioning for her to sit down. How are you holding up? Taking a deep breath, Sarah let the floodgates open. I feel so lost, Hannah. One day I thought I had everything, and now it's all a lie. The words rolled off her tongue, raw and unfiltered. Hannah reached across the table and offered her hand. You're stronger than you think. What's your next move? Sarah hesitated, uncertainty lurking in her chest. I'm joining a support group. I think it's time to confront everything head on, to not just be the victim anymore. A flicker of pride danced in Hannah's eyes. That's amazing. You're not alone in this. I've seen how resilient you are when you put your mind to something. The warmth of Hannah's words wrapped around Sarah like a comforting blanket. As they shared their hopes and fears over warm lattes and lemon scones, Sarah felt a sense of companionship she'd been craving. Just as the conversation gained momentum, the cafe door swung open, and in walked a familiar face, Tom. Her heart raced at the sight of him, twisting the knife of betrayal even deeper. He seemed to radiate confidence, oblivious to the storm swirling inside of her. For a moment, all the laughter and chatter around her faded away. It was just Tom, a man she had shared a life with, standing there with a smile that once made her heart flutter. But today, all she felt was anger and pain creeping back. What are you going to do? Hannah's whisper broke the spell, pulling Sarah back from the edge of despair. As she watched Tom approach the counter, her mind whirled with conflicting emotions. The man she had trusted so much now stood as a stranger in her eyes, and she felt the slight echo of her resolve rising again. Today might just be the day I set some boundaries, Sarah finally said, her voice steadier than it had been in days. She locked eyes with Tom across the cafe, a confrontation hanging in the air like unspoken words. But what she didn't expect was for Tom to turn around and spot her. The tension thickened, and for an instant, she saw a flicker of surprise flash across his face. What would he say when their worlds collided again? Would he try to charm his way back in, or face the consequences of his actions? The moment loomed, and Sarah felt her heart hammering against her chest, ready to embrace whatever came next. Tom's eyes widened as he registered Sarah's presence, and the confident smiles slipped from his face. For a split second, the busy cafe faded away. It was just them, two people caught in an electric moment filled with unspoken words. Did he realize how much was at stake in this encounter? Sarah, he finally said, his voice low, the syllables heavy with disbelief. Sarah took a breath, feeling the weight of her decision lift her shoulders just a bit. Tom, she replied, her voice firm but laced with a hint of vulnerability. We need to talk. He stepped forward, but she held her ground. The distance between them felt like an ocean, filled with memories and hurt. Right here? He asked, glancing around the cafe, as if the gaze of their fellow patrons could somehow deflect the inevitable reckoning. Yes, right here. I need you to understand that tomorrow everything changes, she said, feeling the swell of her courage rising. I'm not going to pretend this didn't happen. I'm not going to let you manipulate me again. Hannah, sensing the charged atmosphere, shifted in her chair. She gave Sarah an encouraging nod, her presence like a silent shield. Tom's expression faltered. Don't, Sarah interrupted sharply. Let's not play games. The truth is out. I saw the letter, the pictures, I know. He stiffened, a shadow crossing his features. You're making this bigger than it is.
You know, I didn't mean to.
Didn't mean to what? Hurt me? The question spilled out, fierce and undeniable. Each word was infused with the pain of 10 years of broken trust. I think I deserve better than your excuses right now. Tom looked around at the other patrons, their curious eyes flicking in their direction. Can we just discuss this in private? You know what I mean, Sarah. But she shook her head. No more private discussions, Tom. Each time we've done that, you've twisted the truth. I am done dancing around this. His gaze softened, but it wasn't enough. The glimmer of compassion didn't reassure her. It ignited the flames of her indignation. You have no idea how much I've struggled since finding out about your betrayal, she continued. For 10 years, I believed we were building a life together. And now? She paused, her voice faltering for a fraction of a second as her heart clenched. The memories of laughter, shared dreams, and whispered secrets played like a cruel film in her mind. And now you've shattered everything. He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a pleading tone. Let's fix this together. I meant to tell you. Did you? The words came out like an accusation. Because if you truly wanted to fix things, you would have been honest from the start. The intensity of her words hung in the air, and she could see the dawning realization in Tom's eyes. It was almost as if he was finally understanding the depth of his actions. As silence enveloped them, Sarah broke away from his gaze, looking down at her trembling hands. She was on the brink of something monumental. Her heart thrummed loudly, echoing her fear of letting go, yet urging her to stay true to herself. "I've joined a support group," she finally said, her tone steady despite the tremors inside, "and I'm moving forward without you." His face turned pale. "You can't be serious." Their eyes locked in a fierce battle of wills, and for the first time, she felt like she was the one in control. "I am serious," she declared, "and you're going to respect that." Before he could respond, Sarah turned and walked back toward Hannah, her heart racing with adrenaline and purpose. She felt alive in a way she hadn't in months, like she was finally taking back the reins of her own life. As she sat down, a thrill of liberation washed over her. "I did it," she whispered to Hannah, who smiled wide, eyes gleaming with pride. But her moment of triumph was interrupted by a sudden thought that tugged at her mind. What would Tom do next? Did he have a plan to win her back? As uncertainty clouded her excitement, she couldn't shake the feeling that this moment was just the beginning of a far longer battle. The stakes were higher than ever, and the real confrontation loomed over her. "Are you ready for what comes next?" Hannah asked, breaking Sarah from her thoughts. A bittersweet smile spread across Sarah's face. "Not quite yet," she murmured, glancing over her shoulder.
"But I'm ready to find out." The cafe buzzed around them. The clattering of cups and the murmur of conversations faded into a distant hum as Sarah tried to focus on what came next. She felt a mixture of exhilaration and dread. She had spoken her truth, but a new reality awaited her, one she had never prepared for. "What if he comes after you?" Hannah's voice brought her back to the moment, an edge of concern threading through it. Sarah shrugged, unsure. "I can handle it. He thinks he can charm his way back into my life, but I'm not that girl anymore. My heart isn't a plaything." Yet the unease nestled deep in her gut refused to dissipate. She wasn't completely sure how strong she truly felt. As they sat there, sipping their coffees, Sarah's thoughts spiraled. Tom had always known how to manipulate her emotions, to pull her back into his web. Each memory of their shared life felt like a knife twisting deeper. The laughter, the vacations, even the quiet evenings, all tainted by his betrayal. She needed to confront him again, to make sure he understood she wasn't going to back down. "What if he tries to convince you again?" Hannah pressed, her brow furrowed. "Then I'll just have to be stronger, won't I?" Sarah's voice quivered slightly, betraying her hesitance. She wanted to believe it, but doubt loomed like a thundercloud. With newfound determination, she straightened her shoulders. "No more excuses. If he thinks I'll go back like nothing happened, he's wrong." Just then, the cafe door swung open, and in walked Tom. Their eyes caught each other across the room. Her heartbeat quickened, a rush of fear and adrenaline coursing through her veins. He looked slightly disheveled, as though he had just been in a fight, and the vulnerability in his expression tilted her world off balance. She gripped her chair, wrestling the instinct to rush towards him or choke on the emotions that churned inside. Instead, she forced herself to maintain her ground. "Sarah," he called out, but the desperation in his tone sent a shiver down her spine. "Don't," she replied, louder this time, cutting through the cafe's atmosphere. She felt Hannah's reassuring grip on her wrist, grounding her. Tom hesitated, swallowing hard. "I just want to talk, please." "What could you possibly say that would make this right?" she snapped, her voice trembling with raw emotion. The whole cafe seemed to pause, patrons glancing at their scene, drawn in by the palpable tension. "I didn't mean for it to happen. You know how much I love you," Tom continued, his voice thick with emotion. He took a step forward, as if he were trying to bridge the distance between them, that no amount of proximity would change the facts. "Love?" Sarah scoffed, shaking her head. "What good is love when it's based on lies?" The silence that followed was deafening. It felt like the weight of their past hung heavy in the air, thick enough to choke on. She could see the confusion battling regret on his face, a storm of emotions that mirrored her own. Hannah leaned closer to Sarah. "What are you going to do?" Gritting her teeth, she replied,
I don't know yet, but I have to leave this cafe tonight with a clear mind. I won't let him pull me back in. As Tom continued to plead his case, Sarah realized she had only just begun to scratch the surface of her own resilience, but her gamble was becoming clearer. The truth was a heavy burden, and each revelation brought both pain and purpose. Sarah, please just give me a chance. We can fix this. His eyes, usually so full of confidence, were now pleading. But she looked at him, heart racing, knowing in that moment she held the power to shape her future. You've burned that bridge, Tom, and I won't be crossing it again. Tom's mouth opened and closed, words escaping him, and in that silence, Sarah could feel her own heart start to heal. She glanced at Hannah, who smiled encouragingly. Just then, a message buzzed in her pocket. It was a notification from her support group. Meeting tomorrow night. Find your strength within, it read. What if I'm not strong enough? Her voice barely whispered as panic loomed. But deep down, she knew that she did not stand alone. Just as she was about to dismiss Tom once and for all, the towering weight of uncertainty danced wild in her chest. Did she have it in her to cut the strings for good? And as she looked back at Tom, a new question tugged at her heart. Was she willing to risk everything she'd built toward her independence for a promise he might not keep again? The answer hovered in the balance, and with it, the stakes of her next decision soared higher than ever. Would this be the moment that finally set her free? Sarah's heart pounded as the words hung between them like thick smoke. She stood at the precipice of a decision that could change everything. The cafe felt smaller, the walls closing in around her as the voices of other customers faded. All she could hear was the sound of her own breath, uneven and rushed. Tom's face twisted in anguish. Just listen to me. I've made mistakes, but I've changed. I can prove it. Prove it? Sarah shot back, her voice rising. You think a few tearful words could erase everything? You've shattered trust into pieces, Tom. I can't just glue it back together like nothing happened. Hannah squeezed her hand tighter, offering silent support, but she could feel the doubt creeping in again. What if he really had changed? But the memory of betrayal burned too fiercely. Those moments of happiness felt like a cruel joke now. Tom stepped forward again, desperation making his eyes glisten. I can't lose you, Sarah. Not again. I need you. I love you. You are everything to me. Her stomach twisted. Those words had once swept her off her feet, but now they felt like a trap. You don't even know what love means, she retorted, a fierceness in her voice she didn't know she had.
I do. I've been a fool. Just give me another chance. His tone shifted, becoming softer. Come on, we were happy once. We can be again. Happy? The word tore from her lips like a bolt of lightning. You're right. There was happiness, but it came at a cost. A cost I can't afford to pay anymore. She realized she was shaking, adrenaline coursing through her, and yet clarity broke through the fog of her fear. But then, doubt crept back in. What if she walked away and regretted it? The silence was charged, crackling with tension. In the background, someone cleared their throat, but the world felt miles away. The familiar sensations of her past with Tom threatened to pull her back like a current, until, without warning, something shifted in her. Tom, you spent years lying to me. You betrayed my trust in ways I still can't comprehend. How can I believe in anything you say? His expression softened, and Sarah almost wavered. She wanted to see the boy who once wrote her love letters, but that boy was gone, eclipsed by a man who manipulated her emotions. Just when Sarah found her footing, something or someone else caught her attention. A woman entered the cafe, hair flowing and confidence radiating. She looked around, and the moment her eyes landed on Tom, they lit up. Tom, she called, an alluring smile brightening her face as she strolled towards them, oblivious to the tension. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Who was this woman? What was she doing here? She could see that Tom's smile transformed into a mixture of surprise and pleasure. Panic surged through her. Was this another revelation in a long line of deception? Who is she? Sarah barked, her heart racing. Anger surged, mixing wildly with confusion. Tom opened his mouth to respond, but words failed him as he glanced between the two women. The woman drew closer, peering at Sarah with curiosity. Hey, is everything okay? Tom didn't mention he was meeting someone, she said cheekily, eyes sparkling as though she had a right to intrude.
No, everything is not okay, Sarah spat, oblivious to the heat rising in her cheeks. In that moment, every iota of confidence she'd built up melted away, and vulnerability flooded back in. "Who are you?" she demanded, not caring about the gaze of other patrons fixating on their table. "Just a friend," the woman said, a smile lingering on her lips. "We've been hanging out." "Clearly," Sarah shot back, anger bubbling up to meet the confusion pressing down. Tom reached out, trying to pull Sarah into the conversation, but she stepped back, shaking her head. "You had a chance to make this right. Now I don't know what to believe." Tom's face twisted again, this time in frustration. "You don't understand." "No," Sarah found her voice, strong and defiant despite the chaos swirling in her mind. "I'm done with misunderstanding. It's time to figure out what this all means for me." Suddenly, her phone buzzed again.
A reminder of her support group meeting flashed on the screen. "Find your strength within," it read, and the message felt like an echo of hope amid this storm. As the crack in her resolve whitened, so did that of her heart. The stakes had risen, and she knew she had to make a choice. Could she walk away from this chaos for good, without looking back? Or was she so close to finding a peaceful resolution that she didn't even realize? The tension hung heavy in the air as eyes turned expectantly toward her, waiting for her next move. What would she do now? Would she confront the woman who embodied betrayal, or accept the truth about Tom for what it really was? Sarah felt like she was drowning in an ocean of uncertainty. The barista behind the counter cleared his throat, and the clinking of mugs punctuated the tension. Everyone in the cafe seemed to hold their breath, the air thick with anticipation, all eyes darting back to her as if waiting for a signal to erupt. The woman who had approached Tom stood casually, as if this was a normal encounter, a friend just stopping by to say hello. Yet Sarah couldn't shake off the burning sensation in her stomach. It was as if someone had set fire to her chest. "What do you mean by hanging out?" she pressed, not ready to relent. "What's your name?" "Lila," the woman replied, a glimmer of amusement in her eyes. Tom flinched, his face painted with panic as he glanced between them. "Sarah, please, it's not what it looks like." "That's rich," she interrupted, her voice sharp and unwavering. "You're right in the middle of it, and somehow you think I should give you the benefit of the doubt? How many times have I believed your lies?" "Sarah," he pleaded, desperation flashing in his eyes, "I swear I wasn't—" "Don't," she held her hand up, cutting him off. "You've had your chance. You've had many." The weight of her heartbreak rushed back like a flood, threatening to drown her composure. She didn't want to think of the nights spent wondering where he was, or the gut-wrenching fear that came when he didn't answer her calls. "Listen," Lila interjected, tilting her head, clearly enjoying the chaos unfolding. "Everything!" Sarah shouted, drawing surprised looks from others in the cafe. "I trusted him. I gave him my heart, my life. And for what?" Tom opened his mouth, searching for the right words, but they never came. Instead, he just looked defeated. It was almost heartbreaking to see the man she once loved crumble before her eyes, yet here she was, still reeling from the betrayal. "Sarah," he finally said, his voice wavering, what if I can show you I've changed?" The smirk faded from Lila's face, replaced with a flicker of uncertainty. She stepped back slightly, as if realizing the stakes she was playing with. "Show me," Sarah repeated, incredulous. "How do you show someone they've changed? It's been years of lies, Tom, years." You can't just undo that with "I love you" or some grand gesture. Her heart ached with the weight of her own words. "But I can try." Tom's desperation was palpable. "Can you?" she asked, challenge lacing her tone. "Because from where I stand, you're just another con artist lying to keep your options open." Lila laughed, a sound full of amusement. "Wow, you've really got it all figured out, haven't you? And what is it you think you're going to do? Run away from this mess? You're tight to him whether you like it or not." That struck a nerve. Sarah stepped forward, pointing an accusatory finger at both of them. "You think this is a game? That I'm going to sit here and let you two pull me into your chaos? No way. I won't do it." The cafe buzzed around them, muffled chatter and clinking utensils fading into a blur. All she could hear now was her pulse, rapid and wild. The room felt electric, but she sensed something more profound shifting within herself, a spark igniting somewhere deep inside her. Maybe you don't have to walk away, but just take a step back. Hannah, her steadfast ally, had finally found her voice, drawing both their gazes. Look at what you want. This is your life, Sarah. The crowd shifted and murmurs rippled round her. The swirling emotions found her again, cradling her in their mood. But for the first time, she felt something else, a flicker of power. "What do I want?" she whispered, uncertainty and determination mixing in her chest. Lila smirked, clearly feeling victorious. "The choice is yours, sweetie. Good luck." As if struck by a lightning bolt, clarity pierced through the haze that had enveloped her. The decision loomed like a crossroads. She took a deep breath, her mind racing with possibilities she hadn't considered before. The dance of emotions destabilized her further. What was it going to be? Grasp onto this tangled mess, or cut her losses and reclaim her life? With uncertainty still swirling in her heart, the weight of countless days and sleepless nights surged within her. There was raw power in making a choice, and she was finally ready to exert it. But then the buzzing of her phone tore her away. Another reminder. Support group is starting soon. Find your strength. The clock ticked, moments slipping away, but an unexpected fire simmered inside. Was she truly capable of reclaiming herself amidst the storm, or was it time to confront those shadows long left unchallenged? She clenched her fists, ready to decide. But which path would she choose? The cafe swirled around Sarah like a storm, the din of whispered conversations and clinking coffee cups a distant roar against the pounding of her heart. She stood at a precipice, teetering between fear and the intoxicating pull of hope. "Sarah, wait!" Tom's voice sliced through the clamor, desperation lacing every syllable. She looked at him, her vision slightly blurred by unshed tears.
His sincerity flickered somewhere beneath the layers of betrayal, but could she drag herself back into the murky waters of their past? "You had your chance, Tom," she replied, her voice steadier now. Each word felt like solid ground beneath her feet. "You can't just wave a magic wand and expect me to forget everything." Lila's eyebrow arched as she observed the shift in the air. "And what, you'll just walk away like you never cared? There's no running from this mess." "Maybe not running," Sarah said, her tone sharpened by newfound determination, "but I can step out of this chaos." Hannah's encouraging nod from across the table gave her strength. "You have a choice, Sarah. Just think." "Think?" Lila scoffed. "Think about what? About staying with someone who's made a fool of you, who shattered your trust?" Sarah clenched her fists, every inch of her fighting to stand firm. "No, but I need to decide what's next. I'm tired of feeling like a pawn in your little games." Lila exchanged glances with Tom, the amusement evaporating as the weight of Sarah's words sank in. Was she standing her ground for good? Suddenly the tension shifted. It was palpable, a living thing that hung between them. Sarah felt lighter, unburdened by the conflicted feelings that once trapped her. "What if I really did change?" Tom pleaded again, his voice breaking. "What if you gave me a chance to prove it, to meet you halfway?" The sincerity in his voice washed over her, filling the cracks with the warmth of memories she'd long tried to forget. "Halfway?" she echoed. "You haven't even tried to meet me a quarter of the way, Tom. You've taken and taken, but never once have you stood by me." Lila snorted. "That's rich. Do you really think he'll change? You can't trust a liar." The weight of those words struck hard. Every time she defended Tom, every moment that had kept her tethered to him, even when it hurt, was rushing back to her. She took a step back, pulling herself out of the chaos before it consumed her again. "Trust," she whispered, almost to herself. "Trust is everything." "Sarah," Tom began, but she held up a hand again. "No more words," she said, her voice stronger than it had ever been. "I have to find my own path first." With that declaration, the noise around began to dim. She could feel the light pooling in her heart, the tiniest spark promising warmth and clarity. "Let me go," she finally said, looking at Tom with defiance that made her heart race. "Let me find my way, and then we'll see." Lila smirked, disbelief creeping into her eyes. She was losing control of the situation. As Sarah turned, she felt the weight of every emotion she'd been holding on to start to lift. The cafe lost its haze, each face becoming clearer as if the fog of the past was finally clearing. "Support group," she murmured, remembering that reminder on her phone. It echoed now, not as a duty, but as a lifeline. Hannah stood beside her, beaming like a lighthouse.
"You've got this, Sarah. Just take that first step." With a deep breath, Sarah pushed through the door, feeling the sunlight warm her skin. The world outside felt fresh, invigorating, filled with possibilities. But as she walked away, she felt a weight settle back, a whisper from within that tugged at her heart. What if Tom really could change? What if he had something else to offer, something she never expected?
As she stepped onto the sidewalk, the question hung heavy in the air. Was she truly ready to leave it all behind, or was this just the beginning of a much deeper journey? Sarah took a breath, her mind racing with possibilities. Where would her path lead next? Would she truly redefine herself, or would the shadows from her past chase her into the light? A quiet resolve settled in her chest. No turning back now. But she couldn't shake the feeling that a storm was still brewing, one that would test her strength like never before. The warmth of the sun was a stark contrast to the turmoil brewing inside Sarah. Each step on the sidewalk felt like a small victory, yet every beat of her heart pulsed with uncertainty. The cafe's door swung shut behind her, cutting off the echoes of memories and whispered betrayals. But now she was on her own, free, yet not quite sure what that meant. Hannah walked beside her, the quiet support palpable. "You did great in there," she said, her voice brightening Sarah's dimming thoughts. "I could see you finding your strength." "Thanks." Sarah looked ahead, but her mind kept drifting back to Tom's desperate eyes. I can't shake this feeling that I left something unresolved. It's like I need a final chapter, but I don't know if I can handle it." Hannah paused, her brow furrowing slightly. "You'll never find peace looking back. Focus on what's in front of you." But what if what lay ahead was just another turbulent ride? Thoughts of Tom, his pleas, and the laughter of their past tugged at her heartstrings. She had spent so long building a life around him. Now she was trying to unearth her identity like a long-buried treasure, and the quest felt daunting. As they reached the corner, Sarah spotted the support group meeting she had almost forgotten about. The sign on the door read, "Healing Together." It sounded hopeful, a beacon in the fog. She hesitated, glancing at Hannah. Her friend stepped closer, determination shining on her face. "Come on, just give it a shot. You might find clarity." Fighting the urge to retreat, Sarah nodded, feeling the familiar stirrings of courage brushing against her fears. Maybe clarity was just a step away. She took a deep breath and pushed open the door. Warm light flooded the room, and a gentle hum of conversation filled the air. A few familiar faces glanced her way, one of them being Clara, a woman she had met at a previous session. Clara smiled warmly, her own journey of healing dotted with visible scars. "Hey, Sarah, so glad you came back,"
she called out, beckoning her over to a circle of chairs. The cozy setup immediately felt comforting. As they shared stories, something shifted within Sarah. Each voice spoke of pain, each narrative a whisper of solidarity. When her turn came, she took a deep breath. "I don't even know where to start," she confessed, her introspection bursting forth. "I'm at a crossroads, trying to find myself again after a lot of betrayal." Heads nodded. Muffled sounds of support penciled a tapestry of shared experience. And then it hit her. The room didn't just resonate with healing, it thrummed with hope. Real hope. It was in the laughter, the understanding, the compassion. "I need to let go of the fear of what Tom might become," she said, her voice stronger than before. "I can't live for what he could do in the future. I need to write my own story." "Exactly," Clara added, her eyes glistening with understanding. "You may never find the closure you want. Sometimes the best decisions are made without all the answers." Sarah soaked in the words. It was liberating. In sharing her fears, she was reclaiming her power, rewriting the narrative that had so long confined her. The storm inside began to calm, if only a bit. As the session wrapped up, Sarah noticed a thin woman with dark hair sitting quietly in the corner, her gaze distant. She felt a pull to the woman, some unspoken connection drawing her closer. There was sadness in the air that lingered around her like a shadow. "Are you okay?" Sarah asked gently as she approached. The woman's eyes flicked to Sarah's, and for a moment, the whole world seemed to blur. "Not exactly," she murmured. "I've just discovered something that might change everything." Just then, Sarah felt the familiar weight of uncertainty settle back, the sense of impending revelation looming large. What if this woman held a piece of information that might alter her path yet again? A shiver coursed through her, pushing away the comforting warmth of the earlier conversations. With a heart racing in anticipation, she stepped closer. What was about to unfold? The mystery held her captive. Sarah's heart raced, sensing the gravity of the woman's words. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The room fell away, leaving just the two of them standing on the precipice of some unknown truth. The woman shifted in her chair, her fingers trembling as she played with the hem of her shirt.
My name is Elise, she said, her voice thick with worry. I've been following a lead, a hunch that something was off with my partner. I discovered something about his past, a secret he has kept for years. Elise's eyes held a sorrow that cut deep, and for a moment, Sarah felt her own pain reflected back at her. What did you find? Elise leaned in closer, her voice dropping even lower. I think he has a child, not just with someone else, but with a woman who was in his life when we were just starting out.
It's like I've been living a lie for a decade.
Sarah's stomach lurched. The weight of betrayal pressed down on Elise's shoulders as she spoke, and the dark familiarity of the situation left Sarah reeling. Hadn't she felt this chaos herself? But you don't have proof, Sarah probed, desperate to grasp the tangible amidst the uncertainty. I've seen pictures, Elise replied, her eyes shining with a mix of anger and despair. I followed him one day. I saw them together, him and this woman. And to top it off, I saw her with a baby that looked just like him. The words hung heavy between them, igniting a flurry of unsettling emotions within Sarah. What would she do if she found evidence of such betrayal? Would it break her completely, or would it empower her to take the next step? Have you confronted him? Sarah asked, her voice thick with curiosity and concern. Elise shook her head, tears pooling in her eyes. No, I can't. Wouldn't know where to even begin. I love him, despite all the doubt. But the thought of him having a child, it shatters me. Sarah's mind reeled. It was a mirror of her own struggle, caught between love and the truth that couldn't be ignored. You deserve to know the truth, Elise, she whispered. Don't let fear hold you back. As Elise gazed at Sarah, a flicker of hope ignited in her eyes. Maybe you're right. But what if the truth destroys everything? Sometimes the lies we tell ourselves are the most devastating, Sarah replied, feeling an unexpected surge of strength. You need to confront him. You deserve closure, even if it's hard. Elise nodded, her resolve slowly rebuilding, and Sarah felt an intense urge to support her. If you want, I can come with you. You don't have to face this alone. Elise smiled faintly, gratitude mixing with her uncertainty. I would like that, more than you know. The atmosphere shifted. It felt as if something important had been born in that moment. A connection formed not only through shared sorrow, but also through strength. The room around them faded back in again, filled with supportive whispers and laughter that was a stark contrast to their fragile heartbeats. Then Sarah's gaze drifted over the group. It was alive with people healing, sharing, growing. What other stories were hidden within these walls? What other life-changing revelations were waiting to be uncovered? As the meeting concluded, Sarah felt a tug in her heart. This wasn't just a place of healing for her, it was becoming a sanctuary of hope for others too. But while she now felt stronger, that lurking sense of urgency pushed her forward. There was still so much she had to face in her own life, starting with Tom. Let's not waste this moment, she said, glancing back at Elise. Let's go find the truths we need to face. But as Sarah stepped out, a familiar figure caught her eye across the street. Tom was standing there, looking lost yet hopeful, as if he had just made a decision of his own. Would she have the courage to face him now? The question hung in the air like an unspoken promise, spinning her emotions in all directions as she wondered, what would he say? Sarah's heart raced as she took a step closer to the street. Tom was standing there, a shadow of uncertainty lurking in his eyes. The silence between them felt heavy, thicker than it had ever been, as the memories of their shared life flooded back. Yet today was different. Today, she had stood up for herself, not just in that cafe, but amidst this whirlwind of emotions. Sarah. His voice cut through the haze, pleading, almost desperate. He looked like a man afraid of his own shadow, unsure of his next step. But she wasn't the one he had heard. Not anymore. Why are you here? She asked, her tone steady despite the tumult inside. I wanted to talk, he replied, shifting nervously. I've been thinking about everything, about us. Thinking, or just feeling the weight of your choices? She shot back, her defenses still brimming with the strength she had just claimed as her own. Tom took a deep breath, as if gathering the pieces of his pride. I know I messed up. I know you're furious. But Sarah, I've been doing a lot of soul searching. I want to be honest with you, even about the kids, all of it. That was it. The admission she had been waiting for.
yet her heart felt like lead. She wasn't ready to navigate this path of raw emotions and potential reconciliation. Do you expect that to make everything better? I have to insist you don't get to sweep this under the carpet just because you had an epiphany. He ran a hand through his hair, cheeks flushed with a desperate embarrassment. I understand, but please, I'm trying to be real with you. I realize now what I could stand to lose, and it terrifies me. Sarah didn't respond at first, her gaze drifting toward the bustling activity of the street. Cars whished by, families walked hand in hand, blissfully unaware of the pain that swirled between them. Just as she was about to turn away, Tom reached out, grabbing her wrist gently. Please, just listen, he urged, his eyes pierced through her defenses. I love you. I always have. You deserve better. I want to show you that I can change. The warmth of his touch sent tremors shooting through her. The familiar feeling of hope mixed with skepticism made her stomach twist. And your child? She asked, the words striking like lightning. How does that fit into your perfect picture? Everything has changed. The sincerity in his voice felt genuine, but she was still cautious. I saw you out there, standing up for yourself, and I realize now how much I've overlooked. I don't want to be a source of pain for you anymore. Sarah took a breath, trying to quell the overwhelming emotions bubbling like boiling water inside her. But how do I trust you again? How do I rebuild my life if I continually look back? You start by facing the truth, Tom urged softly.
I never intended for any of this to happen, but my actions set off this chain of events. I need to take responsibility. If you let me, I promise to show you that truth. His earnestness touched something deep within her. Still, doubts loomed over her like storm clouds. Would she stand back and let herself be hurt again, with a heart so fragile from past wounds? I don't even know where to begin, she finally confessed, her voice almost a whisper. Start with me. Every step forward felt like a leap of faith. Tom's desperate yearning collided with her own fears, and she was acutely aware of how complex the dynamics had become. Meet me halfway, and let me show you how I can be the person you need, he continued, determination shining through. You don't have to decide everything right now, but let me prove I'm not just words. Each beat of her heart resonated, full of potential. The future felt daunting, yet exhilarating. There was no guarantee, no surefire way to escape the past. But perhaps just maybe, this was the crystallizing moment she had longed for, a chance to redefine their story without erasing the lessons of their shared pain. With a deep breath, she nodded slowly. Okay, but only if we do this the right way. No more lies, no more secrets. Consider the slate wiped clean, but know that I'm watching every step. A soft smile broke through Tom's facade of uncertainty, and for the first time, she saw a glimpse of the man who had captured her heart years ago. It wasn't a promise of perfection, just a commitment to real change. Thank you, he said, genuine relief flooding his features. She felt stronger in his presence as they stood there, the weight of the past still heavy, yet balanced with a flicker of potential for what was to come. As they turned to walk forward together, hand in hand, and with each step, the ache of betrayal began to fade, replaced with something wonderfully human, hope. And with each moment, Sarah felt as if she was not just finding herself, she was also rediscovering the woman she had always been, someone capable of love and resilience. This was just the beginning. Now that you've witnessed this incredible transformation in Sarah and Tom's life, it's time for you to take action too. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss our next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment below with your thoughts and feelings about this ending. How do you relate to Sarah's journey? And don't wait not even one more second. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.